Reparations now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers won their fourth straight game Monday night. They put together a 123-115 win in Portland, and they did it without LeBron, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves. Doncic has a bruised leg. Reeves has a groin injury. DeAndre Ayton filled in for the Big Three with 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 block shots. The Lakers are 6-2. The Clippers came up 1 point short last night against Miami. Better ball handling might have changed the outcome. The Clippers committed 20 turnovers in their 120-119 loss at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. 29 points and 8 assists for James Harden. The Clippers are 3-3. The college basketball season tipped off last night. The UCLA women's team, ranked number 3 in the country, beat San Diego State 77-53. The Bruins have their sights on a return trip to the Final Four. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ready?
You're invited to the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair on Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Catch at Audubon Middle School in Leimert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Join us for a day of health, healing, and community connection. There will be health screenings, immunizations, wellness information, a Ketch Charter School recruitment fair, plus music and healthy snacks. And it's all free at the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair, Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Audubon Middle School in Leimert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Come out and bring the entire family. And if you have not yet checked out our KBLA Health and Wellness Hub, you should at KBLA1580.com. KBLA Talk 1580 thanks Ketch Charter School, Prudential, Eastside, Cedar Sinai, and St. John's Community Health. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that a healthy community is a thriving community.
That's right, baby.
I'm Tavis, Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this hour of our program. In case you missed the first hour, I want to just share some information with you that I shared in the first hour. Just in case, again, you missed it, I'll do it at the top of the third hour as well, because it's important to get this information out. The audience here in Southern California, where I sit, has already heard about this, but I want to make sure the national audience listening to this syndicated program is aware of this as well. You may know that my station here in Los Angeles has been the station, the media outlet, covering all things Altadena since all these black folk lost their homes and many of them lost their lives, all their possessions on January the 7th when this Altadena Eaton Canyon fire broke out. Everybody talking about the Palisades in Malibu, but nobody focusing in on these precious black folk in Altadena. So we assigned ourselves here in L.A. at my station, KBLA Talk 1580, to be the voice of the community. And so we have a program every week called Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, that focuses on all things Altadena. We have had any number of town hall meetings just tracking this issue for the people since January the 7th. We have another town hall scheduled for this Thursday night, and we were able to convince Southern California Edison, who started this fire that burned down all these homes. We were able to convince their executives to join us for a town hall for the first time ever to take these questions directly from black people in Altadena about this settlement fund that they've announced that most consumer advocates have determined to be fast but not fair. Southern California Edison calls it a fast pay program, and we've said we're going to slow things down. Hey, not so fast with your fast pay program. We got some questions here, and these executives agreed from Southern California Edison to join us for a town hall this Thursday night, and then yesterday, 72 hours in advance, the good white folk pulled out. They called us yesterday and said we are not going to be there Thursday night. that kind of disrespect and deception and gaslighting and pulling out of a conversation with the community will not be tolerated by black people, and not this black station here in Los Angeles, and black people writ large. If you've been following my career for a number of years, you know that during my time during the morning show days, we had to go in sometimes on institutions that disrespected black people. And so here we are in Southern California asking for your help all across the country. I want to give you some information right quick, an email that you can use and a phone number that you can dial to express your disappointment with Southern California Edison refusing to come to the black community, to talk to black people about this settlement fund, which is frankly unfair, but more importantly, or as importantly, just the disrespect of agreeing to sit for a conversation and then 72 hours in advance of that conversation, which will still happen Thursday night without Southern California Edison. We're going to go forward anyway. I think the turnout will be even greater now to express our disappointment with this institution, once again, disrespecting black people. You burn down their homes, and then you offer a settlement fund that's fast but not fair, and then you pull out of a conversation to talk about it. Ain't nobody dealing with that nonsense. So we are in the midst of a campaign, just started today, to let Southern California Edison know that we're not going to stand for this. And we're sending emails to the president and CEO of the company and making phone calls into the company, just like I did for all those years on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. So here's the information I want you to write down right quick. And at some point today, I know it's election day, but at some point today, tomorrow, send an email. Make a phone call to Southern California Edison to know that this, again, kind of disrespect and gaslighting will not be tolerated as black people are trying to get their lives back together. So the email is Pedro. His name is Pedro Pizarro, the CEO of Con Edison. Pedro.Pizarro, that's Pizarro. Pedro.Pizarro, Pizarro, at SCE, Southern California Edison, SCE.com. I repeat, Pedro.Pizarro, 1Z, 2 R's, Pedro.Pizarro at SCE.com. The number to dial is 626-302-2255, and then press the number 1 for a live voice. 626-302-2255, and then press the number 1 to get a live voice to express your disappointment. I'm asking all of our black brothers and sisters all across the country. You saw these fires. You've seen the stories covering the Palisades in Malibu. You've seen the disrespect afforded these people, these black folk in what was once at least a black Wakanda in Altadena, but we're not going to tolerate this level of disrespect. And so again, Pedro.Pizarro at SCE.com and 626-302-2255. Press the number 1 for a live voice. Is the number to call to express your disappointment on behalf of all these black people, and certainly those who lost their lives, who are now, frankly, having their graves tap danced on by Southern California Edison, disrespecting black people and this black station to pull out of this conversation so close to game time on Thursday night. That said, I wanted to share that with you top of the hour. We'll do it again top of the third hour. I'm excited in this hour, though, to be in a conversation for the rest of this hour with Ashley D. Farmer, noted historian with a brilliant new text out called Queen Mother. It drops today. Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley Moore. When we come forward, I'm going to play a clip for you of Mother Moore, Queen Mother Moore, in her own words, and then I'm going to unleash Professor Farmer for the rest of the hour on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
First, they tried to erase our history.
Pentagon removed training material about the Tuskegee Airmen. Arlington National Cemetery removing histories that highlighted black veterans from its website.
Then they tried to erase our jobs.
Black Americans will disproportionately bear the brunt.
Now they think they can erase our votes.
Steal 5 congressional seats, decimating black and brown representation.
Enough is enough. I matter, my rights matter, and our future matters. That's why I'm voting yes on Prop 50. Prop 50 lets us temporarily redraw California congressional maps to counter the election rigging Trump is trying to pull off in Texas and other states. Californians across the state are stepping up and using the power of their vote to stop the madness. So vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th, because we can't let them erase our history or our future. This ad is paid for by the NAACP and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
KBLA Talk 1580, standing with you in perilous times. If you've been impacted by the federal government shutdown or the discontinuation of SNAP benefits, you can find a food bank near you that's offering free groceries by going to lafoodbank.org or call 211. Additionally, LA County offers free meals at certain parks. There are meals and snacks for kids and seniors. Visit parks.lacounty.gov to find out which centers are offering which programs and to register in advance. And in addition to offering 2 free meals per day for all students, the LA Unified School District provides weekend meal kits for its students by request. The meal kits can be picked up on Fridays at grab-and-go locations. Please visit lausd.org/Cafe LA. That's lausd.org/CAFELA. We keep us safe. We keep us provided for. We keep us connected. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at usps.com/holidays.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Oh, as they say in the Black Baptist Church, you will hear in a moment the voice of Queen Mother Moore in her own words, and after that, the next voice you hear will be the author of the book Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley Moore, Professor Ashley D. Farmer. Here now, Queen Mother Moore.
You know, we have no idea the condition that we're in, the psychoneurosis that we suffer. We suffer a terrible, terrible blight. We don't know who we are. We use European names, and we just are comfortable with our condition. We really don't know who we are. We have no idea. We're captive. And we absolutely comfortable with this situation.
Professor Farmer, it's an honor to have you on this program. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
It's my honor. Thank you for your patience while we had to explain to the audience, the national audience, about what's happening here in Southern California. So thanks for your patience, but I've been anxious to talk to you. It's election day for all the rest of us, but it's publication day for you, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How's it feel?
It feels good. You know, this has been a labor of love of a decade plus to put her life and collect everything and put it down on the page. So it's always nice to see when something that you feel so dedicated to telling the story gets to reach the masses.
We'll start big, and then we'll narrow our way as we move through this conversation and get more exacting in our focus about Queen Mother Moore. But to your point, a decade invested in researching and bringing this book to us. What is it about Queen Mother Moore that made you so willing to invest that kind of time to tell this story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a historian of the Black freedom struggle, and I wrote my first book on women in the Black Power movement called Remaking Black Power. And in that book, I interviewed probably 40 different activists, and almost every single person had a story about Queen Mother Moore. They met her when they were out protesting, and she knew so much about the history of protesting. She was the first person they learned about reparations from. They remember her voice booming kind of in the cadence of Marcus Garvey. And so I was stunned when I started to look up and find that there was basically nothing about her, either in book form, articles, anything. And it turns out that a big part of that is because she had no formal archive, as you speak of. There was no place where I could go and, collect her materials and write about her life. But I kept kind of at it because I'm astounded by a woman that lived from 98 to 1997, so almost the entirety of the 20th century, who started off very well off by, Black girl and Jim Crow standards, and became one of the foremost Black nationalists that this world has ever seen. She was captivated by Garvey in the 1920s after she was orphaned and slid down the class ladder. And after that, she became dedicated to the idea of Black self-determination, Black community control, racial pride, and a separate Black nation for the better part of 70, 80 years to her own peril, both financially and personally. And I was stunned by somebody having that commitment to Black liberation. And I needed to know what it took for somebody like her to stay the course for so long.
Before I get into all of that, just say a word about, again, you're a noted historian, just say a word about the treasure trove, if you will, of untold stories of Black women icons. Every time we learn of a story that we knew not of, I mean, I'm just gobsmacked by the fact that there's so many of these yet to be unearthed. But again, a quick word about the untold stories of so many Black women who've done some pretty amazing things in the history of this country.
Yeah, well, look, we like our Black freedom leaders young, male, and stuck in one period of time, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean that typically we think of somebody like a Martin and a Malcolm that unfortunately was cut down in their prime but never aged, that they are men and that they're kind of confined to one period of time. The Harlem Renaissance, the Civil Rights Movement, right? The 80s. And what we find about many Black women organizers that I study is that they're what we call long distance runners. By that, I mean that they traverse all kinds of time periods and all kinds of movements. Then most of the time, they're part of the rank and file of an organization, right? They're not the messiah or leader, but they're there day after day. And that they are the ones that survive. And so they're the ones that carry on the traditions of organizing from one generation to the next. And Queen Mother Moore is but one example of that among myriad folks.
Tell me, I've got an hour here, so you can stretch out. This is not one of those. This is not one of those interviews where you got 4 or 5 minutes on one of the morning on one of the morning shows. We got time here, Professor Farmer. So stretch out for me. Tell me about Queen Mother Moore in the early years. Tell me about her upbringing. Just give me the backstory.
Yeah, so Queen Mother Moore was born to a man who was formerly enslaved and a free Black woman of color, what we would call a Creole in Louisiana. And by that, I mean somebody who was free for at least a generation in Louisiana. Louisiana slavery history is difficult because, it was owned by the French, it was owned by the Spanish before, it was owned by America. And her family came together and they made quite a life for themselves in the early stages of Reconstruction Louisiana. Her father set up a carpentry service and a lumber service. They were able to own property. They were able to send their girls to Catholic school, an all-Black Catholic school, because it was segregated, no less. But and then when they moved to New Orleans, they were among what you would call kind of the Black elite or the Black literati. They joined organizations that did functions to raise money for charity. They did balls. They were of the to-do. And so one of the things that is really interesting about her is that she was raised to think that she was in fact better than some Black people by virtue of her upbringing, but also by virtue of her class. And in the book, I talk about how she thought of herself of what she calls a bourgeois little stinker. That's her words, not mine. But that's what she was being raised to be, because she had nannies and she had maids and her parents went to the opera. So it is both interesting in the fact that we had Black folks that were living this well in the midst of what was the end of Reconstruction, right? The collapsing of support for the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment and the rise of, it was always going on, but an intense rise in racial violence. That they had these kind of systems in place, but it also meant that she was actually destined for a very, very different life than the one that we know. And so I think it's a really interesting juxtaposition to say that, the folks, how folks start out and where they end up and their impact on the world is really quite astonishing. It's a whole story within itself.
Yeah.
Think kind of the Black Gilded Age, if you will, you
Yeah.
know?
My mind, as you were talking, went to that adage, that biblical adage that it's more difficult for a rich man to get to heaven than a camel through the eye of a needle. We all know that that phraseology. That thought popped in my head because I'm trying to understand, and again, I love the book, and I love that we have you on to talk about it. But I'm trying to understand how someone who grows up in that environment, that sort of environment vis-a-vis their class, makes the sort of turn that she makes later in her life. So give me a sense of what it is in her life before we get to that point of where she makes this turn. Tell me more about her, about her character. What is it about her that allows her to make that turn, looking out for the best of everyday people, as Sly Stone might say, poor people, working people, given the class that she grew up in?
That's a great question. So even though she grew up very well off, again, by Jim Crow standards, she also saw her parents defend themselves. And by that, I mean like their dignity and their reputation, but also her father became a constable in Reconstruction New Orleans. So also defend their rights and their property and the property of other Black folks, sometimes by bearing arms. So she was always imbued with a real sense of self, a real sense that Black people might have to fight for both their dignity and fight physically. And I think that stayed with her. But what happened is that both her parents died by the time that she was a teenager. And she was basically orphaned and ready to care for her two younger sisters. She had to quit school in the 3rd grade. And what was once this idyllic life of balls in the evening and maids during the day, she basically became a domestic worker. She was the maid now, cleaning up white people's households and dealing with the drudgery of trying to make ends meet. And that was a real awakening for her. She realized how the other half lived, and she realized that no matter where you were on the class spectrum, you were still experiencing racism. No amount of money could buy you out of it, and it was just worse on the other end. And everything, though, changed for her when Marcus Garvey came to town. All of a sudden, it began to make sense.
We'll get to Marcus Garvey here in just a second here. Tell me more about New Orleans as a character in her story.
Yeah, New Orleans is a really magical place, I think, to this day. I mean, it had what you would think of as kind of a stratified set of class within the city. You had the white folks, you had this Creole class that she was in and her family was in, and then you had Black folks who had largely come from the outlying areas that were plantations, right, into the city seeking work at the end of Reconstruction. It was also a place that had a kind of tenuous space in which Reconstruction actually worked for a while. Before the end of Radical Reconstruction in 1877, there was a moment there where Black folks made incredible strides with the New Orleans. They had police chiefs, they had Black schools that were more than less either well-funded or were moving towards integration. They had Black shops, they had thriving Black businesses. And by and large, they were in a fairly tenuous relationship, but a stable relationship with a white merchant class there. So New Orleans is interesting because of all the times it's changed hands and its culture, both Black, African, Spanish, French. But it's also a place where for a short period of time, incredible promise when she was first there, and then of course everything kind of collapsed in on itself as the federal government refused to uphold it's the ideals of the American Constitution.
Before I get to Marcus Garvey, let me just pause for a second here. I could have commenced our conversation with this because I was so fascinated by it when I actually saw it some time ago when the book came to me to prepare for this conversation. But describe, this is radio, obviously, so folks can't see this right now, but describe for me this photo, this precious photo. I'm looking at the photo, all the items behind her. You know the photo. It's your photo, of course. Tell me about this photo on the cover of this book, Queen Mother.
Yes, I love this photo, and I'm so glad you asked about it. So if many people have ever encountered Queen Mother at this point, it's probably through this black and white portrait. And this portrait was taken by a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer named Brian Lanker. And it's in her Harlem apartment. After Queen Mother Moore lived in New Orleans, her main kind of home after that was Harlem, New York. And it was really, It's really beautiful. She sits almost, regally. Like her face isn't even facing the camera. It's almost like she's expecting us to kind of bow down for her to be able to speak to us. But all around her in that photo is basically the archive. It is images and pictures of Malcolm X, who she mentored, and hopefully we can get into that later. It's photos and pamphlets and stuff from organizing with Garvey and the Communist Party and everything from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And she is in what we would maybe consider her kind of regal regalia, with her head wrap, her beads around her neck, and her bracelets around her wrist. It's a really stunning photo. And it's most stunning because everything that is pretty much in that photo has been lost to history. No one exactly knows where the majority of that stuff is. And the stories abound when I tried to go find it of where it could be. Some people told me it was buried in Louisiana and New Iberia, where she grew up. Some people said that people stole it in her later life when she went to a nursing home. I've met people that claim to be wearing some of the stuff that she is wearing. So it's a real kind of national treasure hunt as to where all those images on the cover, all those things in the image of the cover are.
So there are a couple of photos of Malcolm on the mantle behind her, as you know, as she sits in this chair. So we'll get to Malcolm X, I promise you, later in this conversation. I just want to warn you, I've only got 2 minutes here right now. We'll continue, of course, for the rest of the hour when we come forward. But before I get to Malcolm, I want to go to the other M, Marcus. Tell me what happens when Marcus comes to town. You can start for 2 minutes. We'll continue when we come forward. But get me started on the Marcus Garvey part of this story.
Absolutely. So when Marcus Garvey comes to town, Audley Moore is nervous, right? And she's nervous because she's walking to what they call the Longshoremen's Club. This is a place where the dock workers who are unionized come and meet, but it's also just a community meeting house for Black folk in New Orleans neighborhoods. And she's nervous because she's got, as she tells it, a gun in her bra and one in her pocketbook, and her husband next to her is carrying a packet of bullets. And as she's walking in, she's talking to everybody, and they're going to tell him he's going to speak tonight. He's going to speak tonight. Why are they saying that? Because Marcus Garvey was supposed to come to New Orleans, which was a stronghold for his organization, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. But he'd been barred from speaking and arrested the night before because the white folk there were so worried about what he was going to say to thousands of Black New Orleanians. So this time when they got him out and he was coming to speak, they planned to defend his right with self-defense to speak if they wanted to. So she says she gets into the hall, she sits down, and everybody's nervous. And then all of a sudden, Marcus Garvey comes bounding in saying, "My friends, I've apologized to you for not being able to speak that night." Everybody cheers. The police threaten to arrest him. And everybody jumps up, pulls out their guns, and in unison says, "Speak, Garvey, speak. Speak, Garvey, speak." And at that, the police back down and Garvey speaks. And for a 19, 20-year-old Black woman who's down on her luck, this is an absolutely transformative moment where she's seen Black people stand up to the white police force and a Black nationalist make them cower.
More of this transformative moment, as we say, this is getting good. This is getting good now. More of this transformative moment with the author of this book, Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley Moore, Ashley D. Farmer. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. Forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Virginia is set to elect its first female governor tonight. Democrat Abigail Spanberger and Black Republican Winsome Earl Sears made final campaign stops.
Abigail is for Abigail. We can't trust her.
We need a governor who is working tirelessly to mitigate every harm that might be caused by a reckless and chaotic administration.
Polls close statewide at 7 p.m. A jury has awarded $6.5 million to the family of Jorge Gomez, who was shot by Las Vegas police during a 2020 protest. Officers say Gomez was armed and raised his gun. His family insists he was peacefully protesting. And Restaurants of Jamaica is pledging $18 million in Hurricane Melissa relief. The KFC and Pizza Hut franchise will support government and charity efforts, plus help schools and shelters through its outreach program. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers won their fourth straight game Monday night. They put together a 123-115 win in Portland, and they did it without LeBron, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves. Doncic has a bruised leg. Reeves has a groin injury. DeAndre Ayton filled in for the Big Three with 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 block shots. The Lakers are 6-2. The Clippers came up 1 point short last night against Miami. Better ball handling might have changed the outcome. The Clippers committed 20 turnovers in their 120-119 loss at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. 29 points and 8 assists for James Harden. The Clippers are 3-3. The college basketball season tipped off last night. The UCLA women's team, ranked number 3 in the country, beat San Diego State 77-53. The Bruins have their sights on a return trip to the Final Four. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish. Minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Ashley D. Farmer. Miles, in a second, I want to play this other clip from Queen Mother Moore. Let me just reintroduce this conversation. In case you've just tuned in, we are honored to be in dialogue with Ashley D. Farmer, noted historian. Her new book is called Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley Moore. The book is out today. I teased Professor Farmer a moment ago. It's election day for all the rest of us, but it's publication day for her, and I congratulate her on the work that it took over a decade to bring this story to us. Before I play this clip, Professor Farmer, let you finish this story. You were on a roll there, and we were all loving this story of this night that Marcus Garvey rolls in, apologizes, the police come in and try to arrest him yet again, and everybody pulls out their guns, the police back down, and you mentioned what a transformative moment I can only imagine. When you told that story, my mind, speaking of Malcolm X, my mind went to that scene in Spike Lee's Malcolm X movie. You know the scene where Malcolm is outside the police station? Malcolm played by Denzel. We all know that station, and they end up, what's the line? That's too much power for one Negro. And so my mind went to that scene in Malcolm X when you were telling that story. But I would love to have been a fly on the wall just to see the way all these black folk jumped up with their handguns, their firearms in their hand to protect Marcus Garvey. But I can, again, not even begin to imagine what a transformative moment this was for this 29-year-old Audley Moore. Tell me more.
Yeah, so that was the first time not only has she seen Black folks really defend themselves and the right to hear somebody speak, but when she sat down, she heard a speech that transformed her life. Garvey talked about the fact that she should be proud of where she came from as somebody who descended from Africa, that she should be proud of her hair, her nose, her skin, and how she looked. He talked about how Black people all over the world were suffering under the same kind of forms of white supremacy, and he called on them to unite, right? And to build their own businesses, to build their own communities. And in his case, also go back to Africa, which is what he was advocating for at that time. So for somebody who had slid down the class ladder, who's somebody who felt like she didn't understand that there was anything left for her in this world, this was a moment where she found a movement and an organization that spoke to her and made her understand who she was as a person and have the ability to take pride in who she was as a person. She said that after that, she wanted to be, quote, jet black, and she wanted to do all things Black.
So from that moment forward, help me track the story of Audley Moore.
Sure. So she joins Marcus Garvey's UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association in New Orleans, but eventually she, like a lot of other Black folk in the South, want to get out. You know, it's still the early 1920s, and, you know, life is not great in New Orleans and Jim Crow. So her and her first husband traveled north to Harlem because that's where everybody is supposed to go. But also that's because at the time, that's where Garvey's UNIA was headquartered. But by the time she gets there, it's dissipated because he has been deported in 1927 for mail fraud, which is the #1 way the government gets anybody
That's right.
they don't like, mail fraud. And I should emphasize here that Garvey was an immigrant, right? He's from Jamaica. So they were able to deport him on a technicality in that sense. But one of the things that's really interesting that she finds when she's living and working in basically Depression era Harlem is that everywhere she goes where Black people are feeling downtrodden, there is an organization that is helping them. And this organization actually happens to be the Communist Party, which is really interesting, right? So the Communist Party had existed, but, you know, most people thought that was something for white folks. It wasn't for them. But in 1928, so right after Garvey leaves America, they decide that they're really going to try to recruit and embrace Black folks. And they do this 2 ways. By helping them day to day, it's the Depression, but they are feeding folks. They are helping them fight their landlords that are trying to evict them. They are boycotting places that will not serve Black folks. They are making sure that they have enough to eat and opening food kitchens. And also, they passed basically a resolution within the organization that said that Black folks are a nation within a nation and that they have the right to self-determination and to secede from the United States. And this is a revelation for people like Audley Moore because she says, well, wait a second. Every day I see them in my neighborhood helping out Black folks like me. And all the things that they're talking about are similar things to what Garvey was talking about. So this may be what she called a vehicle to get in and help her people. So, and this was fairly common in the 1930s. This was a moment when the Communist Party really attracted a lot of Black folks, like Paul Robeson, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Claudia Jones, other folks, because they felt it was a conduit, right? A way they could help Black folks and also assert what they believe to be kind of self-determination or nationalist principles. She works with the Communist Party well into the 1950s. She leaves them before they leave her. She feels that in the end, though, she was a little bit duped by them, that they weren't really, really committed to Black nationalist liberation, but more so were interested in kind of getting Black folk to do their bidding. But it's also a convenient time to leave because it's the height of McCarthyism, right? And she needs to go underground for a very long time.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that what imbued her most with this this commitment to Black liberation was that Garvey moment?
Yes, absolutely. 1,000%. I think that there was a before and an after for her in that Garvey moment. But what is critical for her is that even after Garvey was gone, she held tight to his principles, and I would say was one of the foremost Garveyites of the 20th century going on.
Yep. So she pulls away from them, the Communist Party, and does what next?
She goes back to New Orleans, in part because she has an opportunity to get some of her father, they found out that her father owned a home and some land, the opportunity to get it back after his death many, many years ago when she was a teenager. But it's also an opportunity to lay low, right? In the height of McCarthyism. She was fairly prominent within the Communist Party. And it was not uncommon for people that got brought in front of the House of Un-American Activities to be asked about her, if they knew her, if they associated with her. In fact, the federal government, the FBI, followed Queen Mother Moore from the 1920s all the way to the 1970s. So she was a marked woman. So laying low in New Orleans was really helpful for a while. And she went back there with her sisters and moved into a house that her father owned. But coming back to New Orleans also meant returning to her Garveyite roots in a way. Yeah. So she got back together with other mostly Black women who were also UNA activists at the time. And she created kind of her own spin-off organization. And that organization was called the Universal Association of Ethiopian Women. So you see what she's trying to do there, right? She's playing on Garvey's names and deals. And this group was astounding for a couple of reasons. And right now we're talking about late 1950s, early 1960s in New Orleans, Louisiana. So, you know, the height of a very rough time, but also the height of the beginning of the civil rights movement. So they're doing a couple things. They're getting Black men off of death row in Angola who've been wrongly accused of raping white women. They are organizing around Black women who are losing their welfare benefits because white folks are trying to kick them off the welfare rolls for technicalities and violations. And while they are doing all of this, they are asking people and they're politicizing people and saying, do you ever wonder why there's so many Black men in jail? Do you ever wonder why you can't get a fair shake from the government? Maybe you should consider that integration isn't the answer and that Black nationalism is the thing for you. So that's what's so great about Queen Mother Moore. She would work to kind of make sure she was mitigating harm in the moment, but she brilliantly would connect it to her larger ideas of Black separation and Black self-determination.
When we come forward, I want to just ask directly when Queen Mother Moore goes full bore Black nationalists, if I can put it that way. We'll talk about that when we come forward. Of course, you can't talk about Black nationalists without then making the connection to Malcolm X. I mentioned earlier this photo, this beautiful photo on the cover of this book, Queen Mother, and a couple of photos of the brother minister, Malcolm X, behind her on the mantle. It's an amazing conversation that I'm pleased to be a part of with Ashley D. Farmer, professor at UT Austin, noted and brilliant historian. Her book is called, it's out today, by the way, Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley. More with Professor Farmer when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can
California. This is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
Yeah, yo, come on. Come to
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Ashley D. Farmer, historian, UT Austin in Texas, of course. The book is called Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley, out on Election Day. What do you make of the irony there, Professor Farmer, that the book drops on Election Day?
I think it is very interesting because Queen Mother Moore would have asked us, I think, why we are so invested in a nation state that does not want us. She had a complicated relationship to voting.
Yeah.
She felt like voting was only part of the struggle, but we needed to also at the same time be thinking bigger and broader about how we were going to fix things for ourselves.
Speaking of fixing things for ourselves, to that end, here is Queen Mother Moore once again in her own words.
Benjamin Franklin said, those who seek temporary security rather than basic liberty deserve neither. Brothers have to understand that. That those who seek temporary security rather than basic liberty deserve neither. I'm demanding reparations. That's all I can see now. That's the answer for our people. And this document tells you why the man owes you reparations. Here, honey, you want reparations? Take it. This is reparations. This is how you've been injured. This is how you've been destroyed. You was changed from an African into a Negro. You've been damaged, injured you, took your name, took your color. I don't have my pretty black color no more. No, I want an afro. I can't even wear one. The man done messed it up. You understand? Oh, baby, you don't. Baby, I know your name is Jones or Johnson or Williams, huh? And you know darn well that you have no business with English names. You don't think that's an injury. That's where your consciousness, that he killed your consciousness. You got to charge him for that, too.
He killed your conscience. You have to charge him for that, too, Professor Farmer.
Love that clip. That's the Gary Convention. Yes.
Yes, Lord.
Yes.
So I had, yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I love that you played that clip because right when we left talking, we were talking about her group, the Universal Association of Ethiopian Women, and that's also where she began organizing for reparations with that group.
Yeah. So when did she go, as I mentioned earlier, when did she go full bore black nationalist?
I think two things. Point one was when she decided that she was going to advocate for reparations, which is the late 1950s, early 1960s.
Right.
Now, Queen Mother Moore is arguing that we are owed payment from slavery, but also, again, she's talking in the 1960s, so the 100 years post-slavery. But she believes that that money should be used for us to found a separate Black nation. And that would be the seed money or the basic money for us to buy land, develop infrastructure for Black people to just succeed from the United States. And she was the one that started to go around and popularize the idea of repayment in the late 50s and early 60s, when at that time, most people thought that she was crazy for thinking anything like that.
Yeah. In our remaining moments with Ashley D. Farmer discussing her new book, Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley Moore, I want to ask her about all the folks she mentored, namely the brother minister Malcolm X. And she said earlier in this conversation that she did all of this, so much of this, to her own peril. And so in the remaining moments with Professor Farman, we'll cover ground in that regard. This book is too dense to do justice to in 1 hour, but I hope I'm giving you a sense, hope we're giving you a sense of what's in this book. More of this conversation when we come forward.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-283-2427. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-283-2427, 800-283-2427, 800-283-2427.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Professor Farmer, I got a little less than 5 minutes here. Let's make the most of it. Talk to me first about all the persons she mentored, so many that we don't have time to break down, but I'm specifically interested, I think, in the brother minister Malcolm X.
Absolutely. So by the time that, civil rights and Black power was reaching its height again, Moore was actually in her 60s and 70s. So the beauty of this is that she had many decades of struggle, a ton of experience, and she was a well-read political organizer. So one of the places that she was kind of a political hub and mentor was when she lived in Philadelphia in the early 1960s. And as the activists who are still around tell it, she would actually leave her window open so that young men and women could climb in and take access to her books about the Communist Party, about Garveyism, about Black nationalism. It was also the case that when Malcolm was in town, he would stop by her Philadelphia house and chat with her. He would meet other Black nationalists there. And when I talked to people who had also shared that space with them, they said that he was not verbose or taking up a lot of space in the room, but that he would sit down and listen to what she had to say. Now, Queen Mother Moore always felt that Malcolm was one of the brightest subjects. She felt that he was their new Garvey who could lead the movement. She first met him in New York in the 1950s, but she was frustrated sometimes by the confines of the Nation of Islam had put on him. And so at any moment that she could, she tried to kind of broaden his frame about reparations. She tried to broaden his frame about African liberation struggle. She very much wanted to him to be more of a Pan-Africanist than he was in his Nation of Islam time. And she wanted him to talk more about getting involved in the movement than the Nation of Islam would allow for. So when he broke with Elijah Muhammad, she found this as an enormous opportunity, and there's correspondence between her and other folks who were elders in the movement in thinking through how they could support him and moving forward and kind of broadening his reach as a nationalist and an activist.
Finally, in this conversation with 2 minutes to go, you mentioned earlier in our dialogue that so much of what she did, so much of her work and witness was done at her own peril. Can you unpack that right quick?
Absolutely. I mean, to be this dedicated to the movement meant that she neglected her personal life, her family life, her child, that she never had full-time employment. So she was often living out of the generosity of other activists, a lot of younger activists. So it's a real lesson in thinking through how we want to treat our liberation leaders and our elders, and a reminder that when people are putting this level of their lives on the line, one of the main things we can do is make sure that they have their basic needs met in the process.
Yep. You spent a decade working on this, and for that, I am grateful. And readers today, now that the book is out and in the years to come, will also be grateful, Professor Farmer, for you having done the work to bring us this text, Queen Mother. What do you hope the takeaway will be from your book?
I think that whether or not you agree with Moore's politics, her life is a study in staying the course and fixing your value system and fixing your ideas about where you want to go and moving through it with dogged persistence. And I think today we could all use a little bit of a model of just how to stay the course and stay true to our values, even when the world feels like it's crumbling around you.
Oh, that phrase, stay the course, brings my big mama to mind, who said to me all the time, Tavis, once a task you have first begun, never finish until it's done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all. It is about staying the course. The book is called Queen Mother, Black Nationalism, Reparations, and the Untold Story of Audley Moore. Its author is UT professor, noted historian Ashley D. Farmer, who I've been honored to have had on this program. Thanks again, Professor Farmer, for the conversation and the book. All the best to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
My great honor. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.